What's that?
Hey everyone, happy to be back on. Thanks, Ben. So we're currently recording in my basement, so different location, and we're joined by 3 new guests, right? Everybody, they're all new.
No, Liam's been on before.
Liam's on before.
Yep. So's Matt. Yep. Ryan, you're the newbie.
So Ryan's the only newbie, and today we're gonna kind of just go through some fun tales and different experiences that we've had while working in retail. What you can get out of it, some jokes, maybe some laughs. Maybe if you work in retail, you'll be able to relate to it because every retail job is kind of the same.
Maybe hope you've never experienced it yourself.
Yeah. I mean, if you're thinking about working in retail, and maybe you don't, or maybe you do, based on how this goes. So for a little introduction, all 5 of us worked at a very popular home goods center within the United States, known for its orange colorway. That should, pretty much tell you everything you need to know. I started there when I was 18, and at that time, Ryan and Maddie were already there, and kind of just went from there. And then eventually, who joined first, Ben or Liam?
That would be me.
So Liam was next, then Ben, and we all kind of formed a crew, and we were all good friends.
Yeah, I kind of fought to get Liam there.
In all honesty, I kind of wish you didn't after all these kind of things that happened with us.
Yeah, but we all kind of just became friends one way or another, just working with each other every day, and all the kind of, the crap that we went through. But obviously, in some ways, it was beneficial because we're kind of still friends or acquaintances to this day. So, but anyways, so myself, Ryan, Liam, did you start in lumber?
No, I was a cashier at first and did it for about 2 years, and then swapped. Yep.
That's right. But so myself, Ryan, and Ben were all in lumber. Matthew started in the lot and then eventually moved to deliveries, right?
Yep, I found all sorts of shit and had some pretty bad injuries.
Yeah, we'll get back to that in a bit. So we all just kind of formed a bond. So we want to start with something comical. Well, who has a good comical story they want to go through? I mean, there's no shortage of them. So who wants to go first?
Okay, so I'll go first. My first week at the place, a customer was irate, began yelling at me, and I was trying to be nice. I was like, all right, we're good. I'm trying to help you. I can get a manager. And then he poked me in my nose. Literally reached out and tapped my nose and said, do you understand what I'm saying? So, he understood what I was saying afterwards because I threatened to take my apron off and beat him up and down the aisles. And then I think Maddie was there. Were you there? You came after. But, they had to, basically, calm me down, get that guy out of the store, bring me out back, threatened to fire me, but then they found out he actually poked me in the nose. And then they started laughing because they're like, he poked me in my nose. And I've never been touched by anybody, so I was literally disbelief and anger.
You had some retail experience up until that point, right? But fair to say that nothing like that.
Yeah, no one's ever physically touched me. I mean, people get mad and they say stuff, I just blow it off, but no one's ever actually reached out and touched someone. It wasn't AT&T. I mean, what the hell? So yeah.
People they think entitlement, right? You're nothing, right? They just
that's
take advantage of you.
That's all retail. All retail.
Yeah.
We are subservient scum. I mean, we're not. I'm just saying that.
It does feel that way, though.
Yes, it does feel that way.
Yeah, we're all just numbers to them at the end of the day. But we do our best.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the life for everybody. And some people get in and get out as fast as they can because working with the public is tough. I mean, just this first thing alone, Ben getting, not assaulted, but touched.
It's assault.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Not is that
he touched me.
He wasn't gonna. He didn't intend on harming you, but there was certainly no reason to do that. And you alone had a few not fights, but maybe disagreements with people.
I may have.
Including some people we worked with.
Yeah, I may have.
And definitely over at another place that we used to work together with.
Yeah, Ben's a little gremlin, a chaos gremlin.
Oh, big time. Yeah. He is the evolved form. He's not Gizmo. He is literally the evolved form of that.
Hey, I defend mine. Next.
To piggyback off of Ben's story, there was a day I was coming in, and any retail worker knows you can't start a retail job without some sort of caffeine. So I walk in with my coffee from Dunks, because you live in Mass, you go to Dunks. And I'm walking up the aisle, and all of a sudden I hear a few aisles over some motion and screaming. So I go to investigate, and apparently I had missed it. But what I did not miss was Ben trotting back and forth in a certain area of the store that was only the employees only. And it was kind of like those cartoons where like the people get really mad that they can kind of see the steam coming out of their ears. His face was bright red, and I'm like, what the Christ happened to you? And he decides to tell me that basically this larger gentleman wanted a door down from the overhead, which we have a process to do that stuff. We need to get a certain piece of equipment, help, something like that. And he was apparently very impatient. And basically, in all words, tried to fight Ben. And I wish I had kind of seen this from the start, but seeing it from the tail end of it was pretty comical. Do you want to kind of...
So this gentleman asked me and this other guy that worked with us if we could get the door down. And I said, you got to give me a minute. I got to get someone to do it. So when I turned around and started walking down the aisle, I heard this smash. And I spun around, and he tried to pull the door down, and it shattered to the ground. So I went, hey, how'd that work out for you? So this guy had to weigh about at least 250, 300 pounds. So this big, huge guy comes running at me full speed, and I'm like, oh my God, it's a rhino. And so I'm thinking, oh my God, I feel like I'm in Africa and I'm on a safari, and this big rhino's about to run me down. And he runs up to me, breathing heavily, going, smelling of haggis and chitlins. It was the grossest smell I've ever smelled in my life. He's like, what did you say? And I'm like, I said, how'd that work out for you? He's like, I should take your head off, beat you with it. And I went, yeah, but you won't. So then that's when everybody else walked in.
I don't think I was there that day, unfortunately. I wish I was. Was there any recourse from that? I don't remember. Did you get in trouble for that?
No, I didn't do anything. I was just minding my own business. No.
So like he never went to the management or anything like that?
Well, no, the whole store heard the smash. Yeah. So like people come running over, and the manager saw the thing on the thing, and the guy's like, I don't know how that happened. And I'm like, what? And he ended up getting kicked out.
Yeah.
You know what the best thing about it though? Cameras. They definitely looked at it and realized he did it himself.
Oh, absolutely. And if I remember, there was quite a crowd by the end of that.
Well, yeah, because like he was screaming in my face, and I started yelling back at him. And well, I always wanted to say I'm 5 foot tall and weigh probably like $130. This guy could have tossed me around the store as much as possible, but I will stand my ground. I'm a strong believer of shit. You're not going to talk to me any way, shape, or form. You're not going to touch me. And he was screaming at me, and I was screaming back at him, giving it full to him. And I think I shocked him because he was like so big, and he's like, this little guy's really messing with me. But it was funny.
Your pride was worth more than potentially getting fired or whatever, getting a stern talking to, whatever.
Oh yeah, I'm an ass.
For those who know Ben on a more personal level or who have worked with him, he's definitely like the bulldog. Anytime I ever had a problem with a customer or with another associate while I was working with Ben was always there to be like, I'm going to go talk to him. Let me say something to him. I can't remember. There was one time where I was really upset. And I don't really get flustered that easily at work because I don't really care. It's just at the end of the day, I'm just there and getting paid $12 an hour to twiddle my thumbs and do a little bit of work here and there. But I'm trying to remember. But I think we got into like an altercation with another associate, or like we were getting treated not what's the word? Like not.
Was it when I was flagging for you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So we had a problem with a person that worked there, and it spilled over to other associates. Like they basically like got these people to say something. So I was flagging for you, and you were riding the forklift, and they were coming by us, and then the person said something to me, and I wasn't doing anything, and then he threatened to fight me. He was like, and I was staring at
I was
you.
like 7 years old, by the way.
Yeah, and I was staring at you, going, "What's going on here?" And then like he said something, and he was like, "I should just like beat your ass or something." And then like all of a sudden, I heard you go, "That's it!" And you just you jumped off the thing. I'm holding the flags, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And then you started yelling at him, and I'm still holding the flags, and I'm like, and then you're yelling at him, he's yelling at you, and you're like, "It's none of your business." And I'm like, looking at the guy who's riding the other truck, it was none of his business because he was messing around with the person that ended up getting this guy to try and fight me. And then, like, I wanted to go in front of you guys and be like, flag,
Yeah.
flag on the flag. But then he got scared and he was like, "Okay, Patrick, I don't have a problem with you. I have a problem with him." And then you're like, "You got a problem with me?" And I'm like, "All right," I'll just lean back. I was like, "I'm good." And then that's basically what
I
happened.
mean, we were kind of like a duo at that point, right?
Yeah,
So if someone
yeah.
had a problem with you, they had a problem with me,
Yeah.
and vice versa.
Yeah, it was the first time I've ever seen you like get mad like that.
It
Though
was.
you're like
It was,
Mr.
it
like
was a little personal.
Yeah.
It just got personal.
Yeah, because you're like
Um,
Mr. Like, let's rationalize this. Let's calm it down. You're my calm. I didn't need you to be the non-calm.
I know. That's right.
I remember walking into that at the tail end of it, and I was the guy that everybody kind of liked. No one
Yeah.
hated me.
No.
So I was like, "What the fuck is going on, you guys?"
And for reference, if you don't know who it is, this is for us guys. It was the department head of hardware at the time, a certain woman whose name began with L. I think we all know who it is.
Lassie.
Yeah. And the older gentleman who decided to pick a fight with us that day, he did end up getting in a car accident, and then he never worked another day for the place that we worked for.
Karma.
Yeah, I was just about to say, so maybe karma does exist. I'll tell a quick story, and then maybe Maddie will move to you, or no, let me.
Yeah, I got a few, but do yours first.
Regarding flagging, and so basically, if you're on the forklift with inside the store, you have to have a spot or whatever, right? And one story that sticks out in mind was with Ben and I, and how it works is you essentially. You have to close two aisles, the one that you're working in and the one that's adjacent to it. And you keep it closed while you're working, whatever. And Ben and I were working, and he had an aisle closed on the other side, and we heard that they're metal gates, so you can hear. We heard that someone had opened the gate just on the other side of us where we're working. Incredibly dangerous, and could easily get the customer hurt, and we would lose our jobs, whatever. So Ben, in his ever snarky and funny ways, goes, "Man, it sure would be a shame if someone opened that gate over there."
Yeah, I did do that.
And so him and I are peering through the racking into the other side, and we can see the customer. As soon as Ben says that, they get frightened, they spin around, walk right out, and close the gate right behind them. And never saw them back in that aisle, at least while we were working in there. That was a good one.
I would just like to say it was funny, and like we've had numerous occasions where we block it off, and people come walking in there, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "You just need to get your ass out the there."
We've all been there with that.
I usually became the designated spotter because nobody wanted to go in there when I was there.
Yeah.
I was training people basically to doing. I was the one who requested, "Hey, we need a spotter. Call Matt."
Well, and you definitely took it very seriously too. Making the X over your head with the flags if you wanted to stop, and very very official about it.
Yeah, I followed the training.
Yeah,
I was probably the only one.
probably everybody else slept through it.
Yeah, I took most things seriously though. There's a reason I got the nickname the Canadian Border Patrol, because when I was in the lot, one of the things they started doing is at the end of the night, as we got down to the last 5 minutes, they'd have us go and walk the doors and stand by there and let people in and out. And I was very strict about it. People would be begging outside to try and get in because they needed one more thing, and nobody would get by me.
Yeah. I mean, and then the ASMs, or like the assistant store managers, would do the same thing. And you'd either, like, depending on who you were closing with, is whether or not you'd have somebody coming in at like 5 past closing.
Oh, absolutely. There's a couple there that were there when I first started who you did not meet.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan did meet. You know who I'm talking about. No?
No, I met that guy too. Ryan's making gestures off.
Ah.
You can't see, but he's making gestures.
Let's say he's the one who called the regional after he left. You know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yes, I do. And me and that ASM had a couple arguments.
No.
We'll say that.
He didn't get along with a lot of people.
No, nor did he really do his job.
This was before me.
I believe it was.
What does their name begin
It
with?
begins with a C.
Oh, I know. Yeah, of course.
Okay,
I
I
know.
couldn't, I couldn't remember it.
Oh, he was.
Not-
he was
not-
chill. No, I know who you're talking
So
about.
one story that goes with him. It's kind of funny. We had a gentleman join us in the lot part time. He was specifically the lot person for the garden lot person, but he would end up in garden a lot of times with the phone or in lumber. You guys know him as Crybaby. Yeah,
Crybaby.
Crybaby. He enjoyed playing D&D. That's the hint. Also began with a C.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
So
Same here.
one day we're hanging out in the lot, and he's telling me that previously the ASM had been calling on the garden phone. He'd been giving it to it because a lot of the garden people just like to pass it off to whoever can get it. It was a pretty common thing with the phones. We've all done it.
Those things were like a virus. You did not want it, have it, and once someone come in that can take it, you handed that off like a marathon runner or whatever.
Yeah.
Baton passer.
The baton.
So that particular ASM, he was an African American gentleman, and the coworker was white. But we had just hired another African American gentleman in garden who was supposed to have the phone at the time. And the coworker, whose name began with a C, told me that he had answered the phone when that ASM had called him. And he said, "Hey, what's up?" And he started getting yelled at over the phone for answering like that, saying, "Oh, you're not supposed to talk like that. You're not showing respect. We can't have you talking like that here." That ASM found C later on and is like, "You're the one I was talking to on the phone? Oh, I'm so sorry."
Did he think it was somebody else? He thought it was.
He did.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a gentleman who had just been hired into garden at that point. Good guy. Worked really fast worker, but just did not want to have the phone, as none of us ever did.
Fair enough.
I mean, now that I'm, a say competitor, so pretty much
blue competitor.
Oh,
Blue competitor.
very blue. So pretty much, yeah, having those phones has been nightmares at times, and I'm no specialty guy, so it's always fun getting the customers that want to scream and yell at the other two coworkers most days nowadays. So, yeah, I hand that thing off like a baton and just say bye. But other than that, though, it's just being yelled at a customer like that, or even fun times with an ASM over the phone too, trying to figure something out. Definitely not good.
Of the five of us, I was the first one to start. Ryan would join us later on after a certain incident in the lumber department where a gentleman left early to buy shoes on his lunch break and never came back.
Wait, I thought I replaced him.
Nope, Ryan was there just a little bit before you.
Oh, okay.
No, that's right, Ryan. You'd already been there for like a month, but you were only part time. You took the full time slot, and then eventually, Patrick, you would come in and join us.
And then the rest was history. Man, where to go next? I mean, one thing that we could go through is everybody. I'm not talking loud. Everybody had nicknames for one another, and I guess it's sort of like a sense of camaraderie or whatever it is. What are some nicknames that we had for each other?
Well,
Maddie was Sticks.
I was
That
Sticks.
was
So
Ryan's
I
thing.
think Ryan would be the one because he was the nicknamer. He's the one who
Speak up.
I kind of took that role in giving everybody their nicknames. Sticks, it fit Maddie. If you've ever seen Maddie, he's maybe 80 pounds soaking wet, and if he turns sideways, you ain't gonna see him.
I'm two dimensional.
Yeah, a good wind would take him on his ass. And then sitting next to me, we got Vi Queen. I don't even know where to begin on that one. We got the little angry Pollard. Get yours.
Hermie the elf.
Yeah.
He looks like Hermie the elf. I mean, and then Ryan looks like Yukon Cornelius. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if you see these guys, you'll be like, oh yeah, I see it.
Yep.
There was also kind of an out of color name that Ryan had for me, which was Hitler's Youth. Maybe not as good to say in 2024, but this was 2016. So you could get away with a little bit more. I don't think that we would be calling each other that in the workplace necessarily. Like, let's not get ourselves in trouble here, but
Yeah. So thank you for listening to Wise Hampton. We're about to be canceled. Thank you.
Yeah.
yeah, and obviously, did we say Yukon Cornelius? Did someone say Yukon?
First episode back.
You obviously you don't know what Ryan looks like, but if just look up Yukon Cornelius, that's Ryan on any given day in the fall or winter in New England. That's basically him.
Always waiting until he starts singing Silver and Gold.
Yeah, he's got the plaid. He's got the big beard. He may as well be a lumberjack.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he is. Going back to like a little bit of story time. I had been in working for this place for a couple of years at this point. So I had a little bit of tenure under my belt. Kind of had a little bit of respect around the place, whatever. And with the place that we worked at, there's a high turnover. You see a lot of people come in for 1 or 2 shifts and then they never show up again, either because they don't care or they get fired or they just don't make it. You have a 90-day trial period essentially, and if this place doesn't like you within that period, they have it within their right to get rid of you. One story about how a gentleman was fired, I believe on like his second or third day, like within his first week for sure. At this place that we worked at, they have a massive trash compactor. So you're throwing you empty your trash in there, whatever. Not recycling stuff, not cardboard. We'd have a separate cardboard compactor for that. So all your trash was going in there. And at the time, this included all this kind of lumber, concrete, tiling, whatever. It all went in there. And one day, I wasn't there for this, I think I was there for the after effects.
I think I know which one you're talking about. I was there for that. I witnessed it firsthand.
So basically, how it works is there's a large ram that just pushes this stuff into a large dumpster. And it can get jammed sometimes. If you're putting in a 16-foot piece of, 2x4 or whatever, and it wedges in there just right, the ram won't activate if there's any sort of back pressure. And what happened was, maybe it got stuck in the chute. Did it get stuck in the chute?
So what happened was, it was actually concrete.
Oh,
and it was stuck on the lip. This is a little lip you
okay.
have to push everything over.
80-pound bags of concrete, and we're lifting them 4 feet in the air. So
Yeah,
some people
it's,
couldn't handle it.
And some of them tend to rip a little bit.
Yeah.
This gentleman, who obviously we're not going to name, he hadn't been there very long, and none of the longtime members of Lumber were there that day. It was just him and another fellow newbie who was the cousin of someone else who worked there.
Oh, yeah.
He was training him on how to do lumber, and since he was so new, he didn't know much what to do himself. And I was there because I lived in lumber at that point, because I was always hanging out with the rest of the guys. And he's trying to push stuff in there, and I walk away because I get called away for a minute to go, and I think I was going to answer a question at the cashier's. I come back, and he's inside the compactor trying to manually push stuff over the leg.
Yeah.
Which is an absolute no. Do not do that. You could get yourself killed very easily.
It's an instant fire. He was like trying to reenact the scene from Star Wars, where when they're in the trash compactor, the walls are coming in on the side.
Sleepio!
So needless to say, that man was terminated like probably that instant. I don't know how it trickled down, but I know that the next time I was there, he was never there again.
He also wasn't he wasn't the smartest gentleman, and some of the things he talked about prior to that, let's just say he was a big fan of domestic abuse.
Oh, that's awesome. That's definitely a theme when you work in retail. You get, well, especially for places that hire everybody off the street. Definitely a lot of people with drinking problems, drug problems,
various histories.
Very bad pass, that's for sure, yeah.
I plead the fifth.
But going back to the compactor, in my time on the lot, I found a lot of weird things. And 2 of the weirdest things I ever found. So in the front of the location, there was a bunch of little bush areas. You see like dividers in the parking lot. And one of them, while I was just off doing my patrol, looking for carts, I saw a strange blue object. Now, I'm sure most of us have seen a CPR dummy before. Maybe you've gone to the training, maybe you haven't. This one was a little unique in that, when you see them typically, they have a head, they have the shoulders. This didn't have that. It was just the torso. Someone dismembered a CPR dummy and threw it in the bushes.
In the parking lot?
In the parking lot, yep.
Interesting. Did you ever find anything else interesting like that? Like in car, like when you'd bring carts in, or
Oh,
because people dump their shit there,
oh,
right?
all
I
the
mean, it's
time,
just like,
all
oh,
the
I got this
time.
thing in my truck and I don't feel like getting rid of it, so I'll just leave it in the parking spot. You know?
There-
just the
there-
close by, and just the close by, dumping station.
Yeah, we
Literally.
had two big trash barrels that were right at the front, and part of the lot's job was to empty those barrels. And I remember one night, so in the front of the store is a fire lane where you're not supposed to park for, obviously reasons. If there's a fire, you need to be able to get up there, park things. And one of those areas is where the barrels were. But someone had decided to park their car there, and it was absolutely filled, like covering the windows filled with packing pellets.
Interesting.
The guy filled the entire barrel up, which I just emptied, both of them. And these were big, right? You could probably hold like 50 gallons of trash.
Yeah, definitely.
And then dumped 2 coffees, one in each one. So it was soaked over. It looked like a giant, disgusting marshmallow.
At least it should have been pretty light. I mean, albeit disgusting, but pretty light. Just packing peanuts, right?
You'd think so.
Pretty sure I helped you that night, and I'm pretty
You-
sure.
Yeah, Liam was there helping me. And there was some concrete in the bottom of one of them. And that one ripped right through the bottom, spilling them everywhere. But still not the weirdest thing I
See,
ever found.
that was like the worst one because it's like my whole, shoes were just filled with concrete because at that time I was just wearing sneakers. I didn't even wear my boots. If I wore my boots, I would have been fine. But no, I had to wear my sneakers that one day with the concrete just.
Yeah, concrete
all
and
over.
coffee all mixing together.
Yeah.
It's just disgusting.
The smell. Ugh.
The
Just
weirdest
gagging.
thing though I ever found, and if you've ever been to these big box stores, you've seen probably a Penske truck, big moving trucks. We'd rent them out at the store. But one night, I was off looking for carts, and I saw one over near them. So I'm heading over, and I see on the ground, it's a tricycle. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is that there? I'm walking over because I'm like, I'm gonna get rid of it, and this black van just goes zooming by me. Now, this was outside of the front of the store. You could only see the Penske trucks where this was. So no one would ever seen him. I get over to the tricycle, and on it is a note taped to it that says, "Children, ride me." I threw that on a carriage I was carrying, and I threw that right in the compactor, but I wanted to burn my hands after that.
Yeah, that's a little bit disturbing. Like, that's, and especially, big black van driving by. Yeah.
And the guy nearly hit me in the process, too.
It's usually the unmarked white vans that you have to worry about, but I guess the black vans too.
Yeah, they're just trying to keep their identity hidden, I guess.
Yep.
It's easier to have shaded out windows. I mean, especially, and at nighttime too. Yeah. You want to go, would you really drive a white van through the night? You're kind of sticking out like a sore thumb.
And going with those Penske vans, I would often help the people loading them in because that's what you did in the lot. And there was one night I was helping load a bunch of cabinets in, and one of the gentlemen in the lot, he was a big guy, super friendly, nicest guy you ever met. Always happy to help and wouldn't harm a fly. But he was big and he could lift up the cabinets with one, 2 hands. You guys know who I'm talking about. He's still there. And I was inside the thing, just pushing him into the right spot as he was putting them in behind me. And I got stuck. I got my neck stuck between 2 of them. And he kept pushing. And I was panicking. I think, oh shit, I'm going to get my neck snapped. I'm going to die. I'm banging on the truck. I'm yelling. He can't hear me. Eventually, I stop moving. And he realizes something is wrong and pulls it back. And I'm just laying there like, oh God.
Glad you made it. I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, I got super, super lucky there.
He was the kind of guy that would just like brute force it, just like shove it in, like literally just all muscle.
Yeah, he felt awful about it.
Yeah,
after.
he wasn't doing
Like
it.
he was horrified at what nearly happened. But it's that was probably the worst injury I ever got. But I know Ben, you got a few, didn't you?
I'm 5 foot tall, weigh $130. I worked in a place where I lifted up concrete. Yes, I had injuries.
I mean, there wasn't a day where you didn't go home with like sore back or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, like when you guys drop off the concrete that you left laying out in the rain all night, and it got hard and weighs like looks like a dead body, and we have to throw 35 to 40 bags of that into a dumpster that's 4 feet above my head. Yeah. Fun times.
Well, it got better after you left though, because we started like just piling them on a pallet, and then they got dumpsters out back, so we just dump it in the dumpster. So there was no more throwing them into the compactor. So that got a lot better. but also the chute for the compactor was like high up. So it was just like it was just a bad situation. So like it's never a day where you don't go home sore or beaten up, anything like. I dropped a piece, a 4x4 pressure treated piece of wood on my toe. I didn't have boots on at that point. I only had sneakers, and I don't know if I didn't break the toe. I just had it just hurt like hell, and I had like a blister under it for like a couple months. But from that day forward, I always wore steel or composite toe boots while working at that place.
I got one. It was actually going back to like that whole forklift and blocking off aisles and all that fun stuff. It was one of those nights, and it was me and actually Patrick working. And any of you that have ever stepped in these stores, the aisles seem pretty big to you guys, right? When you are driving a decently sized forklift, or in this fact, probably a reach truck or anything like that, the aisles get a lot smaller. And one night, it was me and Patrick. I was driving because I'm the superior driver. And that will stay on me until I die. And he is over here shaking his head and disagreeing. But whatever. And one night, I had went to pick up a whole lift of 16-foot pressure-treated decking. And
It was double stacked. It was 2 lifts.
double
Hanging together
And actually, I was working that day too.
on the top rack.
I was
Yeah.
down at Lumber Lake.
And this was all of maybe 15 minutes before we closed. And I'm not trying to pat myself in the back here, but I was a decent driver. And I taught you. And I get it out. I'm lifting it. These are 16-foot boards. The aisles are 16 in a couple hairs. So you don't have much area to move. And I get them up, and I'm trying to swing out from underneath from the overhead. And all of a sudden, that band that someone had put on it catches one of the beams and snaps it. And these things come down like pickup sticks, and they come down hard. Because we're talking 12, 13 feet in the air, ballpark. And these just like keep coming. We basically emptied the whole lift onto the ground. And I didn't expect it to be that loud until one of our appliance associates from basically the other side of the store comes over and goes, "What the hell happened?" And we explained it to him. He goes, "My desk shook." And like I said, this is on the other side of the store. Our manager, the short guy, came over. We had to explain what happened. I wasn't in trouble. He wasn't in trouble. No one was in trouble. It was just, all right, pick him up, put him away. So me and Patrick, like I said, this is 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes before we close. We're shoving these back in the hole, and they're 16-foot pressure-treated deck boards. They're heavy. They're awkward. It's no one wants to deal with it. So I think that probably was the record timing that we put those away, because it was just like, let's go. We're leaving. Let's go, and we're just piling them in there, and it was comical because like it was all going well until that one little corner caught and snapped the band, and now we got pickup sticks.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
Oh yeah, that one little corner catches, and you're in a field of hate.
I very much remember that night, and it was 2 lifts. They were double stacked together. They were banded together, and I don't know if somebody put the band on wrong, probably. And it had to be at least like 80 or 90 pieces that we had to put away. And I think we got out on time. I think we were fueled and motivated by just how pissed off we were that it happened. I wasn't mad at you. I think I was probably just pissed off that someone did it wrong or whatever. But we got it done.
Exactly.
We got it done. But in all of our time driving the forklifts and all that kind of stuff, I can't think of maybe 1 or 2 incidences like that. So I think on a whole, our track record is pretty good.
Oh, easily, yeah. Like even like Liam said, I went to work for a competitor, and I never have dropped anything other than that one lift. It all depends on how good of a driver I guess you are, but that's kind of a reason why we shut the aisles down. Because if we were dropping that lift and there was people in there, you're talking about your little 5-year-old daughter, your 5-year-old son. That's not going to feel well. We're kind of in the machine, kind of protected. Like right above the forklift, there's solid steel bars. So if they were to come down, they're just going to hit that. I'm not going to get hurt. The spotter on the other aisle is not going to get hurt. No one's going to get hurt. So if you're ever in one of these stores and they ask you, hopefully politely, to kind of exit the aisle, that's what they're doing it for. It's not for them to be a pain or to make your project last longer or whatever. It's so you can go home to your wife, your kids, your whoever you go home to, your dog, your cat, your goldfish, whoever. It's for your own safety, and honestly, it's to keep our jobs.
Did you have something to say, Maddie?
I'll say, I don't think I was there that night, but if I remember, that was actually when you guys started having me teaching other people how to do the banding machine.
So it's your fault, is what you're saying? You taught somebody incorrectly?
I think I started people teaching after, but
Yeah.
I think if I remember at the time, I just moved into deliveries. Is that the case, or is this a little bit after that?
Yeah, because
Possibly my brain's fuzzy on time, but I remember that story. I don't remember.
I do remember getting into deliveries because you, Ryan, tricked me.
Oh yeah, we used to use Maddie a lot because he was there, and because like when me, Patrick, or someone was driving a forklift, no one really wants a spot for you. It's kind of a boring job, and it's kind of a pain because we're always trying to grab customers or associates that they got like 12 things on their plate, and we're asking them to, hey, can we borrow you for 20 minutes? But Maddie, he was always kind of, yeah, give me a minute, or yeah, let's go. So he was always good with it. So he kind of developed and kind of learned how certain drivers liked it.
I took up a lot of stuff from you guys. And spotting, banding up those pallets, because before they changed the rackings, they used to always just pile together, and people would climb on top of them and cut them open. You remember that?
Yep.
And eventually he was learning to use the saw as well. Because
Yeah, we could pawn it off on you. Lumber to the saw, and then you're right there. So for reference, the department that Matthew was in and the department we're talking about, we're butted up against each other. So it kind of falls into each other, the work that you have to share. So cutting wood was one of the services that we provided, and we would constantly be getting pulled away from our other jobs to do that. You gonna say something, Ben?
No.
Oh,
no.
I like you were gonna say. So eventually we somehow tricked Matthew into learning how to use the saw so that he could cover for us in some instances, and he would be the only person in that department who would do it.
I remember one particular night, there was I believe Ryan referenced it, but it was the short manager of lumber. I referred to it professionally as Linguini because he was Italian.
Mm-hmm.
And he was obsessed with lumber, as you guys remember. I was the only one there, the only one who could use the saw. Even technically, I never should have been allowed near that thing because I was not licensed to
You never
use
took
it.
the training that never existed.
Nope, I did not.
Never existed.
And one night, I'm wrapping up some deliveries because that's what I did at that point, and that was the whole ball of wax and that stuff. That was awful. This guy comes in. He wants to get a lock. God, so the guy had taken the stump out of the ground, brought it in because he wanted to turn it into a table. And these saws are not designed for anything more than a couple of inches thick, and this thing was a good
Correct.
5 inches thick.
Yep.
Linguini.
Yep.
He was like, "Hey, Matt, can you cut this?" Now he had not seen this item. He didn't know what was trying to get cut. I'm like,
He probably just got called and was like, "Oh, let me just call somebody who can use the saw." Right? He just
Exactly.
assumed it would be fine.
Exactly. And so I'm trying to convince the customer, like, no, you can't do this. Like, all right, go get me a manager. Like, okay, Linguini, come over here to lumber. We need to get the saw. Like, have you not taken care of it yet? Nope. I need you to get over here right now. So he comes walking over. Like, what's the problem? Like, aren't you cutting the stuff? I was like, look what he's trying to have me cut. He turns and was like, yeah, no, we can't cut that here. You can ask over at Tour Rental, but they're probably not going to do it for you either. And that was something that would happen a lot where something we couldn't cut, they'd be sent over to Tour Rental. And I know everyone did this, but they got pissed at us a lot when they found out who was sending people over there.
Oh, for sure. I don't remember what. There was something I always used to send people over to Tour Rental for to cut, and I can't remember what it was.
It was fiberglass.
fiberglass.
It was fiberglass. It was fiberglass, which would come from the neighboring department of the door and windows because they wanted to cut it to specific shapes. Because they always tried to cut it on the saw.
Oh,
on
you
the
mean
big
like
saw.
plexiglass?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I got you.
Which they couldn't do in Tour Rental anyway, but everyone would be coming and asking for them, and they would be pissed.
Fair enough.
I spent a lot of time in Tour Rental when you guys weren't around.
Anything to get the customer away from you, honestly. Sometimes, it's just like, go talk to that person. Maybe they can help you. And you're going and punching out to lunch, and we'll see you in an hour. Speaking of Linguini, I mean, he was a character in and of himself. Definitely didn't get along with Ryan as much as, maybe some people could. Ben?
What, Linguini?
Yeah.
Me and him had our confrontations. Like one time, I can't remember exactly what happened. Oh, he had told another associate me and Patrick were lazy. And me and Patrick, I just want to tell you something. Me and Patrick ran lumber. Like, we killed ourselves to make sure lumber was great. I'd have Patrick on the forklifts. He'd make the cement perfect. He'd be like, we killed ourselves to make this look good. So we walked into, so I was talking to Linguini, and he said, you guys are lazy and don't do your jobs. So, as you can already tell, I am not the nicest person when it comes to people attacking us or saying anything to us. I get it. It's retail. You're supposed to bite your tongue, but my tongue is forked and doesn't like to be bitten. So I stormed after him. This is what started the fight with the person before we mentioned. This is what happened. So he was outside. I went outside with him. We started screaming at each other. I took my apron off, threw it to the ground. I told him to take it and put it where the sun didn't shine, and he could take the job and put it there too. I stormed out to the front, sat down. I didn't have a car at the time, so I was like, damn it, I have to wait for the bus. I don't know what happened in the store, but Patrick came out and was like, don't quit. Please don't quit. I was like, no, I'm out of here. I'm gone. And he's like, talk to you. I was like, I already told him what he could do with his job. So Patrick talked me back in, so I walk all the way through the store, and everybody's looking at me because you could hear me screaming out back.
I remember it.
Yeah,
I totally remember
I
that.
am not a quiet person. So I went out back, and he was like, can we talk? And I basically went off on him again. And the manager, we call her Harpy, I guess, came walking out. She's like, you gonna let him talk to you like that? And I was like, I'll talk to you like that, too. Get your butt in the store. And she turned around and hauled butt into the store. And then she talked to me, and he's like, oh, I really appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. I'm sorry. Please don't quit. And I was like, okay. I was like, I want more money. And so me and Patrick were like negotiating prices with him. And he was like, I'll see what I can do. He wasn't gonna, but they calmed me down, and they went back to the store.
Going with that though, Patrick, you did eventually get them by the balls when you left and came back, and nobody knew what to do in that department.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. I don't think none of you guys were left at that point, right? None of the original five. I don't think anybody was gone.
Ryan had left.
Ryan left
because
Liam
he
was
left
gone.
when I was in deliveries.
You three were all at Trader Joe's at that point.
No,
No.
nope, not yet.
You were still there?
I didn't go to Trader Joe's until after I left this particular store.
Everybody knows that Ben works at Trader Joe's, by the way. It's totally fine.
Okay.
You can mention Trader
Yeah.
Joe's, just not the place.
Yeah, so my final week there. At this point, I moved into the overnight. Next,
Oh, that's right. I forgot you did that. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So how the overnight worked, what I did, I was supposed to be in the receiving department, collecting things, unloading trucks, and I got into some arguments with the overnight manager. He was a good guy. He was just an awful manager. He had been in overnight for a while. He worked over a certain tower themed pizza place across from that store.
And his dad worked there too, right?
Yes, he
Yeah,
did.
I know what you're talking about.
And even though I was technically receiving, he was pulling me more into overnight. And in the overnight crew, there was a lot of people who did not gel well and would talk behind each other's backs. And there was also every once in a while fights with the night crew of the store. One particular gentleman. So, as we all know, none of us like the phone. Constantly getting rid of it, constantly passing them out. They would take them when we were done for the night. We had a certain place we'd put them. And this gentleman, he took the flooring phone a little early. And the guy who was in flooring, he had a very similar personality to Ben. And he was obsessed with a certain dragon-themed cartoon that Liam is also a huge fan of, to a point that became his nickname.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And for some reason, he just was attached to me. He would always follow me around. He would mess with the overhead and say, "Hey, certain come here," and then you'd hear, "Oh, 2 calendars enter, fight."
Yeah.
And because this gentleman had taken his phone, he absolutely flipped it. And he was already on thin ice because he did not do well with the customers. They ended up getting into a fist fight right in the center aisle of the store. You could hear that all over. People were yelling, people were screaming, they were trying to figure out what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are crazy times there. Like, really was. Like, going back to like driving the fork trucks. One night, so when it rained, we used to take the plastic and we put it on top of the fork truck. And I had these 16-foot 2x4s, and I'm driving, and I can't really see the top. So I'm looking up, and I'm like, I think it was Patrick that was spotting for me, and
I didn't realize what was going on at first.
yeah, so I couldn't see. So we had to like listen. What I did was extremely stupid and dangerous. So I got frustrated because I couldn't see and I couldn't see where to put it in. So I just spun the wheel, and the whole thing flew over and went perfectly into the thing. And I looked over at Patrick, and he's like, "Oh my God!" I was like, "I can't believe that just happened." I was like, "Oh," he's like, "You understand what could have happened?" I was like, "I didn't."
No, you know what's amazing is you had so we were bringing in 12, 16-foot boards from out on the pad where it'd be delivered and flying them into the racking that is upwards of 18, 20 feet in the air, and you're looking above you straight up when you're trying to fly them on the very top shelf, and Ben couldn't see, and he had flown like 2 or 3 of them before that. I didn't even realize that you couldn't see. I don't know how you did that. You were just like, I don't know. Were you looking? You must have been like looking from the side and then just like kind of going for it, like just driving forward a little bit.
I don't know
you
how.
hit something, you pick it up a little bit.
I don't know how I did it.
I don't know
man.
how. But then I remember the last one that you did. It just like you just like put
Yeah.
it right in. It was like
it was like something you never could do again. It was like if I tried it again, it would go flying everywhere. Like it was just so funny. Like it was a funny night, man.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever driven a fork truck or anything like that, you understand how much of a feat that was. I was gonna bring that up. That's
Yeah.
too funny.
We did that. And then also, I want to say, like, when you're shopping at these places, and if your lumber or anything is not on the bottom and it's up top, please do not climb the rafters and cut the bands to get the wood you need, because that becomes a hazard for not only you, and it hazards everybody. And then if we're trying to get the stuff down or band it, it's a danger for us. So, like, I mean, I get you need your stuff and you're impatient. Just wait a few minutes, let someone do it. Don't cut the bands.
Yeah, or how many times so at this place they have tall orange ladders that are meant for the associates to use, but that certainly wouldn't ever stop an impatient customer. So there would be times where you'd walk down the concrete aisle and like 15 feet in the air you'd see a pallet of 80-pound concrete that has like a cut straight down the middle and bags just like taken out, and the rest of the pallet could easily just fall.
Yep.
Right. Going again on the forklift side of things, one of the I guess worst things, even though it technically wasn't really my fault, I was working in the roofing aisle on the forklift, and obviously these places in certain aisles they have sprinkler systems that are meant to dampen anything, if there's a fire or if there's like chemicals, whatever. And the piping for this runs within the racking where you're putting these things up. And one time I was putting up a pallet of shingles and I hit one of the sprinkler heads, and it caused the whole system to just erupt and dumped water everywhere. So I don't even know who was spotting me for that. Were you there that day?
No, I wasn't there that day.
Were you there that day? Were you there that day?
I honestly
any-
don't remember it because, that doesn't ring a bell for me, sadly.
I remember you telling me about it, but I don't remember working that day.
Yeah, I think you just told us pretty much, and then, after that, it was just more or less like trying to imagine it in our heads for you so that way we can understand what the hell had all happened.
So I hit a sprinkler head and it started coming out. The water was everywhere. It was all soaked. And on the back side of the roofing aisle was the concrete aisle. So all these pallets of concrete were getting wet in the racking. It was an interesting sight, to say the least. And also, anytime that the sprinklers go off, and nobody within the store is actually able to turn them off. They have to get the fire department. So the fire department came out, and they took like 15 or 20 minutes because it wasn't an emergency. And eventually, the sprinklers got turned off. But at that point, there was probably, I don't know, an inch and a half of standing water within like a little collected area. So I never really did much bad on the forklift, but that's one area one instance where I definitely did.
Yeah, I did a lot of bad on the forklift. I remember one time I was trying to get the cement, and I misjudged it, and I put the spokes right through the cement, and then it looked like a gray waterfall. It's coming down, and I'm like, oh, that's bad. So then I had to like hurry to get the thing down. So like, but it was just like a gray like fog was in the aisle. I'm sure my lungs are like half concrete right now.
Hell of a mess to clean up too. It took us a while.
I mean, and all of us have experience. When you clean the concrete aisle every single night, it's just dust everywhere. It's in your lungs. It's heavy. It's honestly, it's probably like one of the worst things that you have to do in that store. And I know us three and Ben, we hated it, to say the least. It was.
Yeah, the concrete aisle was always the bane of our existence, and especially whenever anybody just wants to like literally leave open bags, just bust it open on the floor, and it's just a nightmare to clean up. And especially when a spray bottle ain't gonna do much.
And sometimes they come in on the pallets that way too, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah, they would come in broken all the time, and that was simply just horrible forklift drivers unloading the trucks. But talking about broken bags of concrete and messes, I remember one night I'm walking kind of, again, around closing time. All the fun starts to happen right before closing time. And I'm walking down the aisles, checking to see if there's any customers I can help, checking to see if there's anything I can clean. And I witness one of my managers, who I did not get along with, tried to lift a bag that had fallen off of the pallet and tried to lift it and put it back on the pallet. And as doing so, he lifted it and the whole bag spilt all over him. I'm at the end of the aisle. He did not see that I saw this. I'm chuckling. This is kind of like karma. And then he walks down, drops it, does nothing to it, walks down the end of the aisle, and all of a sudden my phone rings. I'm the only one not working that night. I have the phone. And it's said manager. And he's like, hey, there's a mess in the concrete aisle. I need you to clean up. And I'm like, I said, blank, you mean the one you just made? Because I saw you drop that bag. And all in all, I ended up having to clean it because when the manager tells you to clean it, you kind of do. He's low-key the one that kind of keeps you from losing your job. But it was kind of funny because like he kind of played dumb. And I'm like, I said his name, and I'm like, I witnessed you drop that entire bag and then just walk away. And he's like, I didn't think you saw that. And it was comical. And there's like the little parts that kind of make you laugh. And that was kind of one of the ones that made me laugh.
Was that linguine or was that basketball on two sticks?
That was linguine.
Oh, it was linguine. Okay.
Say, speaking of messes, so one of the worst ones I ever dealt with was when I was doing the trucks. So how we help with the trucks there is, if you've ever unloaded a truck or if you're ever moving, and you don't properly, tie things down, shit gets everywhere. And I, being a small gentleman, would have to climb on top of pallets that were not properly put together and pull things. And one night, the first Christmas after I moved into that department, I'm coming towards the back of the store where the trucks are going to be delivered. And I'm getting this overpowering stench. Like someone has just been deep cleaning the entire store. As it turns out, because of how these trucks were, a pallet of bleach had gotten on everything. Absolutely soaked in. We had to throw away probably a couple $1,000 worth of merchandise that night. And I would wear sweatshirts at the store. I was one of the few people. We were always wondering, how the hell am I wearing them in 100-degree weather?
Yeah, it'd be 100 degrees in the damn shipping container and in the truck, and Matthew would be in there with a fucking hoodie and sweatpants on. It's like no shorts, no shirt, no sleeve, like nothing.
The heat never really bothered me.
That's not even in receiving. Any time of day, when he was working in the lot, it would be 102. Like me and Patrick or Liam would be sweating in store. He's walking around perfectly fine. I'm like, and to this day, I do not know how he does it. It's probably the fact that he's built like a stick.
Yeah. I mean, it's fair to say that Ryan and I both had 100 pounds on him back then. So maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe just because we're a little overweight.
Still do.
Yeah. But anyways, Matthew, your story. Yeah, continue.
Yeah, I having to crawl on top of this stuff to pull all this stuff out. I got thoroughly soaked. And I made the mistake of wearing my brand new sweatshirt that night.
No.
Lime green,
Bad hit.
all covered in tiny little splotches and white dots of the bleach.
Oh, that's like some sort of trendy piece of fashionable clothing these days, man. They used to sell that for like $300.
Exactly.
That's all you
Kanye
need to.
West is doing it. Why can't you?
Very true.
I can remember a nice night where something of my precious possession that I was wearing got ruined, and I'm looking right at the man. So one night we're closing together. We're pretty much down installation aisle, and it is literally a mess. It is like all the spray foam, all the big R13 rolls from being 2 feet long or even the 2x4 ones, all on the floor. We're just cleaning, we're just hanging out, and then pretty much I'm putting up with, I think probably an R13, a couple of them. He turns around and finds about like 4 of the spray foams, pretty much capless, but also without a nozzle on top of them either. They were just smashed in. He thought it was going to be a great idea to go ahead, push that nozzle right up against a wall, and just go ahead and spray foam everywhere. Got it on his apron, got it on me, and my beautiful Julian Edelman Super Bowl 53 jersey, which everything was going great. I didn't get dirty. I didn't get dirty at all. I was literally clean the whole day. And then he decided to have just fun with the spray foam. That apron was orange. Already orange.
I do remember that now, and I will apologize again. It's worth noting I also ruined my Carhartt hoodie that night too. So, but the jersey worth a little bit more than that. That stuff was awful though. It's so sticky and you can't get rid of it. I remember one time
we get the returns, right? Like customers return their shit and then we have to put it away. And there was a sharp piece of metal in the cart. I threw one of those cans of spray foam into the cart. The sharp piece of metal pierced it, and then it just started coming out everywhere and was all over everything. I don't even know how you're supposed to get that stuff off, like baby oil or something. I have no idea. Yeah, maybe.
Gasoline, probably.
Yeah, probably gasoline. Dude, Ryan used to play with this stuff all the time, by the way. Ryan had his moments where he liked to play with things, like he would be like, "Oh, I'm bored. I want to do something." And so I'm going to do something fun. So he would make essentially like cakes out of the stuff. He would just spray it in an empty piece of cardboard just for the hell of it, and that would be it. You would just like take that shit right off the shelf too. It's like
I wouldn't take it off the shelf. I would find them that weren't missing the nozzle and all this stuff, and we can't sell that. So the proper procedure, I guess, would be to bring it out to receiving, RTV it, and they'd basically just throw it away. So why not have a little fun? I might be 28 tomorrow, but I do have the brain capacity of possibly we'll go 7-year-old.
78, yeah.
Birthday, Ryan.
So thank you. And
Happy birthday.
and honestly, it was kind of fun. And there were nights where you were just kind of sitting around doing nothing. And why not? Let's make a foam cake or fill something like a water bottle with foam and see what happens.
If I remember correctly, right up until the day I left, the medical kit that was never full, like there was never anything in it in lumber, was covered in a couple of your little designs that you did.
Oh yeah, that one was covered in foam because like I would get it on my fingers and I'm like, what do I? And I would try to go get like those antibiotic wipe things to try to get that off because that's alcohol. I'm like, it wouldn't come off, and it was fun. To this day I see them at my other job that is blue, and I'm like,
I wonder who did that.
yeah.
fun times, a lot of fun times all over the years. It was just working with people that you like, and just made it all worth it. And otherwise, it could be a brutally boring and just demoralizing job.
Something else that would happen frequently was power would be going out.
Oh yeah. On that particular stretch of road that we were on, that whole sort of mall that we were attached to would lose power from time to time.
I remember one night, I think it was the middle of summer, and I was collecting doors for a delivery when the lights go out. Now, how that would work is we had the front doors you'd always see, and then there was ones inside the shelf where it was pitch black in there. And with no windows on this building, if you got caught in the dark, you weren't going to find your way out. I was struggling to get out from between the door. I'd finally managed to get it out, and I'm working my way up to the front, and I see Liam there chowing down on some was it Mexican food from nearby because they lost power and couldn't charge you for it.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, okay, yeah. I was always questioning why the mic was in my face, but yeah, no, I remember. The beautiful place that's right across the street, guys. You walk right to it, and you get beautiful food from a burrito to a taco. It is amazing.
Every once in a while, we would go over there and meet up for lunch, even after some of us left, like Ryan and Patrick.
Oh yeah, and it's like, yeah, that at that point I was just like, you know what? Okay, it's like it just powers out. And just like, I'm gonna find the time to eat this. There's no manager that's gonna be saying no. Because
one of your-
usually,
Didn't one of your buddies work there, Patrick? He used to hook you up with all that sweet food.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, definitely. We can say it's Chipotle. It's Chipotle. We can say it's Chipotle. There's like a million of them in the country. It's
yeah, at this point, yeah.
they're not gonna find us.
He would eventually join us at
That's
the
true.
store.
Yes. Yeah, he worked with us as well. Good guy.
Little lazy at times. His favorite thing was pulling a pallet jack around the store.
Oh yeah. Oh. Yeah.
We're kind of coming up on time, but we kind of got a couple more, few little thoughts to throw in here before we end it. But one thing that Ryan and I allegedly did. Now, this is alleged. I don't want prosecution. I don't want litigation.
You plead the fifth.
You know, we're young. We're having a good time, and Ryan and I would, we were both 21 at the time. You know, we would do Ryan and I would do the 6 to 10s. You know, Ryan would be coming from his other job. I would be coming from school, so we'd close together a lot of the time. If we were lucky, you know, it's nice to have somebody to close with that you liked. And so we were like, I think I provoked the whole thing. I was like, you know what? I got some fireball shots in the car. You want to have a fireball shot? So we either did like 1 or 2 fireball shots before we went into work, and allegedly operated a piece of heavy machinery that weighs, you know, several tons, allegedly. But you know, you just had to do things like that to get by. There were plenty of people that would come in absolutely hammered and work their shift. A name that comes to mind, not a name, but someone that comes to mind is an Italian gentleman who lived in Revere at the time. Was always complaining. Yeah, he was known as Ryan, affectionately, again with the nicknames Ryan. Nicknamed him Bigfoot because he was always impossible to find. And then when you did find him, he was like, you know, traversing in between cars or in between aisles or in between customers. Not helping the customers, not really, but he was always hard to find. I love that guy, by the way. Great guy.
Oh, drinking. So
At the place, at the home center.
well, it was Christmas.
Okay. Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I had already left the
Go
company.
on, go on.
I had already left the company, and they had their Christmas party. So Patrick and Matt were like, "You got to come to the Christmas party." So I'm like, "Okay, I'll come to the Christmas party." And Ryan was already gone, right?
Possibly.
Yeah. So we get to the Christmas party, and Maddie never drank before. So
I'd only ever had one singular beer that night, and I had an awful day. I was the only one to close, and I really wanted a Jack and Coke.
So Matt's asking me about drinks because I'm a recovering alcoholic and I used to drink a lot. So I tell him about Long Island iced teas.
Oh my god.
So Maddie, well, boy.
So I had just finished my Jack and Coke. They were serving dinner, and like I said, I'd had an awful day. I really wanted to get drunk that night. I just didn't care about the consequences. Ben tells me about Long Island iced tea. He's telling me, oh, you know, the next time you go drinking, you should go and get one.
The next time.
But I'm already completely out of it from just the Jack and Coke that I decided, you know what? Fuck it. He's telling me to go get one. I'm going to go get one. And they come in those big hurricane glasses. I can't chug something. You guys all seen, I've tried. I can't do it. I downed the thing in one gulp, pretty much. And I was done.
So I have to drive Maddie home. This is great. So we drive Maddie home. Now, Maddie can't walk. So no one wants to take Maddie to his house. So Ben, the oldest person there, by the way, by a long shot, like I already had gray hair at that time. So I walk up to bring Maddie home. I ring the bell, and Maddie's mother, who is a very nice lady, by the way, and I'd never met before, answers the door.
Cookies.
Yes, it makes wonderful cookies. So Maddie, I'm holding Maddie up, and she's like, "Oh, you brought her home?" I'm like, "Yes." He goes, "I'm going to my room," and flips over the couch. I looked at his mother, and she goes, "It's okay." I was like, "I'm so sorry." So that's what happened to Maddie.
And
Go ahead. No, I gotta go ahead.
So, before we even left, I remember there was other gentleman there, bearded like Ryan, underage. He was only 18, but he looked older. He worked at the customer service desk, but he was constantly sneaking away, and he was always drag racing people out. He had, because he looked older, he was able to get himself an old natural, and he saw me. I after I had my drink, I tried stealing a couple of Patrick's beers, even though they were empty. He's like, "Here, have more." So I started drinking it, and one of the cashiers who saw me, who was also super nice lady, at least to me, took it away. He's like, "No, you can't have any more."
Dude, I remember that night very vividly. And I remember at one point you were just probably like super, super drunk and feeling it. And you just like
Slammed your head down on the table.
Ben and I looked at each other and we were like, he's all right, right? And we were just like, yeah, he's probably fine. You were just like out for like probably like 5 minutes, just like closing your eyes, whatever. Everybody's been drunk before. You know how it is.
And I at the time, I remember I had said, "Oh, I'm gonna get up and go get some fresh air when that happened." And I was convinced was that if I don't even remember getting to the car.
You blacked out. If you're not remembering certain parts of it, yeah, that's it. It's just.
But I do remember from being told that it wasn't just Ben who carried me to the door. There was somebody else, but he was terrified. He ran before Ben rang the doorbell.
Is he in our company?
Yeah, he is.
That whole situation was just brand new to me too, so it was like I know the mother very well because she's like a second mother to me. I was gonna feel like I was gonna get murdered.
He's basically my brother. We've known each other since we were toddlers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was, but thankfully your mom is very, very cool, and I guess you understood pretty quickly what was going on.
He was expecting it.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
Nor me.
I guess I didn't go home with you guys. I must have driven home by myself or with somebody else.
Yeah, no, I think you left by yourself. I think you headed out a little bit early, I think.
Yeah, no, you had left. Like you said, you got Maddie, right? And I said, yeah, I got Maddie.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have Maddie.
I thought you were the one driving me home.
No, I wasn't me.
Because we carpooled with you over to the place from the Home Depot. Because
it was so I can't remember.
You had left early. I was the only one of the five of us who was still working at that point.
No.
I that day, everyone else had gone home early.
I see.
Because they to get ready for the party.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
walking in,
Yeah.
and it was an open bar, and there was a couple of people who were already slamming
Oh
beers,
my
like
God,
5
yeah.
or 6 deep.
Yeah, the true home center spirit came out there. I almost allegedly.
Let's put it this way: the manager at the time, who I think was the third or was the second or third one that we had at that point.
You mean the store manager?
Yeah. He cut it off within like 5 minutes of us arriving.
Yeah. I think it was supposed to be for like the first hour or whatever, but they were taking advantage of it for sure.
We got one drink each, I think, before it closed out. And Ryan, I don't remember what you did, but there was a fight like right after I left, apparently, between the loss prevention person and someone I worked with in receiving, who were both women and both lesbians.
I was not there during that, but I do remember hearing about it because you work in retail, and retail is basically just like a high school. You hear gossip no matter where you go. And I'm sorry, I'm gonna drop this, but cashiers, customer service, you guys are the worst at it. Like, if you want to know something, ask a cashier or a customer service person. They know it.
Liam, what's your cashier?
Yeah, but I kept my mouth shut, thank you very much.
But I was kind of my position at the said store was specifically lumber, but I did a lot of every other thing. So I got pretty friendly with the people at the cashiers, the service desk, and all that. So they would kind of, hey, can you do this for me? Hey, can you do this for me? So we got friendly. So I was kind of in the circle of the gossip. It was kind of fun. It was whatever. But I don't remember that Christmas party, but I remember hearing a lot about it. And I kind of wish I had been there for both of them. I don't remember what I was doing during both of them because I'm pretty sure I was still working there when Maddie had his incident with the Long Island Iced Teas. And I think the fight one was I had already left.
It might have been the next year, now that I think about it. Those days blur together.
I think the Maddie incident might have been the first one that I ever went to, but that wouldn't make sense because you wouldn't have been of age at that time, and you definitely were. You were 21. I wasn't. I don't know.
Well, I am also a year older than you,
Yeah, only a year.
and that took place that was in January. That was a couple months after I turned
Yeah.
21.
Yeah.
Because for my birthday, we all went to a local bowling alley and played pool and drank. And that's
I remember
where I
that.
one beer.
I remember that.
Nursed that beer the whole night.
Well, anyways,
I think we're at time. Unless anybody has any final thoughts. Does anybody have anything else they want to share? No.
well, as always, thank you all for listening. We truly appreciate your patronage, and it definitely inspires us. And most definitely, Benny's always looking at the statistics and letting us know who's listening and from where and how much they are. So, as always, thanks for listening. I hope you can get some laughs out of this one. Maybe influence your decision whether or not you want to work at a certain Orange Home Center. Definitely continue with trepidation and stay frosty.
And tune in next time to What's Happening.